Madam Chair, Commissioners, Lead Council, audience, viewers, good morning to you all and welcome to our daily proceedings of this Commission of Inquiry into Local Government Councils and related matters. Madam Chair, may now yield the floor to you for our next item on the agenda. Over to you, Madam Chair.
Good morning to you all. I will now call on Honorable Silla to lead us in Muslim prayers and Honorable Joyner to do so in the Christian way.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة أن لا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا وأبشروا بالجنة الذي كنتم توعدون نحن أولياؤكم في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة ولكم فيها ما تشتهي أنفسكم ولكم فيها ما تدعون نزلا من غفور رحيم ومن أحسن قولا ممن دعا إلى الله وعمل صالحا وقال إنني من المسلمين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Joyner.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord God, thank you for the beauty of your creation. Every morning I'm greeted with glimpses of your power and glory. Help me to take the time to slow down this morning and relish the joy and wonder of your creation. I ask for continued protection and guidance for this commission so that we will come out with the required recommendation. May you bless this day ahead and give us peace. This we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Joyner. May we have the registrar call the witness.
Good morning, Mr. Walters. Welcome. Please sit down. As a matter of routine, may I remind you that you are still under oath, Mr. Witness, before I pass the floor to Madam Chair for continuation of our proceedings. Madam Chair, over to you.
Good morning, and we are happy to have you back. Council, can we proceed, please? Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chairperson, Honorable Commissioners. It is good to be back. Honorable Commissioner Silla, I started to follow the Muslim prayers, but I can only recite the first part. So probably you have to teach me the second part of it. Yes, so Mr. Witness, it's good to have you back. I think we stopped on page 13 with respect to the 2018 compliance review for BASE. Can you please guide yourself with respect to the report? Yes. Are you there?
Yeah, getting there.
Yes, on page 13 of the 2018 compliance review for Basse. Please let me know when you are on the relevant page.
Yes, I am there.
Thank you. Yesterday we stopped at discussing the procurement with respect to an amount of $446,393, which was spent on fuel, whilst the SPU, that is a specialized procurement unit, was not involved. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And the table just below, which overlapped to page 14 and 15, is basically trying to map out the various transactions that were carried out which never involved the SPU for the year ended 2018. Yes, so can we just briefly, can you just read me the suppliers and the transaction and the amount involved?
The table, as you can see, is divided into 4 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes, 4 columns.
You have the supplier.
Yes.
Description, amount, and dates.
Yes.
Now, number 1, you have Jallo Oil for the procurement of fuel amounting to 2,500.
The second one?
2, you have Jallo Oil for the procurement of fuel amounting to 2,000. 3, you have Tech Wall. Again, for the procurement of fuel amounting to 2,431.
So all these transactions are for the procurement of fuel?
Yes, the whole table
yes
is for the procurement of fuel, and is up to 84.
Yes, so the fourth is up to 84.
Yes.
So we'll just read out some of it. The fourth one would be Tech Oil as well for $2,431. Is that correct?
Yes, Tech Oil.
So you have Jallo Oil being dealt with, Tech Oil as well.
Yes.
You have, if you go to page 14, number 14, you have Shell Company.
Yes.
For 2,525. Do you see that?
Number?
Page 14, number 14. Just turn to the next page. Number 15 of page 14.
Yes, number 15. Of course, number 14 is Jallo.
Yes.
It's number 15,
yes.
Cell. Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
And number 16 is GNPC. Is that correct?
GNPC, yes.
3,300.
Yes.
You also have Tech World, $4,040.
Yes.
Jallo Oil.
Yes.
$3,000.
Yes.
So when you go all the way back down to number 51, you have Gulp, 2,100.
Number 51, yes, Gulp.
They also dealt with Satra on number 37.
37.
For $11,528.
Right. Yes.
Do you see that?
Yes, yes.
Number 31 also, they dealt with Speed.
Yes, Speed.
For $3,793. In fact, I am trying to just pick some of them because we can't read all the 84. But these are the names of the suppliers that keep on reoccurring. Is that correct?
Yes, and you also have Atlas.
You also have Atlas?
Yes, number 33.
Yes. What is the amount? 2,190?
2,190.
That's correct. When you turn to page 15,
yeah,
fuel was supplied by Alaji Momodu Jallo. The amount is $5,240.
Number 53.
Yes.
Yes.
This seems to be an individual and not basically a company. I'm not sure what your position is.
Yes, it's an individual.
Do you have individuals supplying fuel in generally?
Well, yes, we have instances where individuals can register for the, I'm not quite sure in this area, because we have a special unit responsible for registration.
Okay.
Of course, it's all under the authority, but we may have individuals who are also registered to supply fuel.
Now, you have Jallo Oil 55 at an amount of $100,000.
Jallo Oil, which number again?
Number 54.
54, yes.
Do you see that?
Right, yeah.
Council?
Yes.
Yes. We would want to find out from the authority if you have any proof that this Alhaji Mamadou Jallo registered with your authority. Because I think looking at the list, it has been noted that he has supplied fuel on several occasions to the council. So please let us know if you have any evidence of his registration as an operator with your authority.
I can do that during break, and
Yes.
when we resume,
Yes.
I supply with the information.
Thank you.
Very well. Thank you, Madam Chair. Now, in fact, Alhaji Mamadou Yaya Jallo, I believe, appeared twice, 53 and 57, on page 15.
Yes, yes.
Yes, so, but it appears as if the dominating supplier is Jallo Oil.
Jallo Oil, yes.
Yes. So that brings us to the entire transaction is about 84 transactions for 2018, which you mapped out on this report, and the amount is $446,393.
Right.
So all these transactions were conducted by individuals or an individual, not in the specialized procurement unit.
Yes.
And you are saying that is not correct.
It's not correct.
Now let's visit the implications with respect to these unlawful transactions.
Okay.
Yes. So what are the implications?
The implications are as follows. One, procurements may be individualized for personal gains since there is lack of proper control and supervision.
What do you mean when you said individualized for personal gains?
Now, if, as the law requires, all procurement transactions should be conducted by SPU.
Yes.
And procedures must be followed.
Right.
From completion of forms, which should be attested to by the head of the institution and the like, and other relevant people concerned. So if procurement does not go through the SPU, meaning that there will be no records, they are done by individuals, and definitely there is no control, and it's going to be very difficult to account for them, because it may end up going to individual pockets. So that is one of the implications.
And then the second implication?
Accountability and transparency are not assured. Now, since it is done by one individual, and the law requires procurements to be conducted in teams, duties to be segregated, and so on. So if it is done by an individual, it may not show that the principles of transparency, fair play, and so on are achieved, because they are done by individuals.
And the third implication?
Causes the use of wrong procedures,
procedure, yes.
which can lead to wrong decisions. Now, like I said earlier, there must be procedures and which must be followed. So if these are not followed, probably it can lead to wrong decision making. A supplier may be identified wrongly, which eventually will result to wrong award decision.
So basically what you are saying is, when you have these transactions being conducted by an individual or individuals who do not follow the correct procedure for a certain transaction, for example, number 54, Jallo Oil, the supplier, and the value is $100,000. So this clearly is above, let's say, single sourcing.
Yes.
So if you use single sourcing and then targeted Jallo Oil, what you are in effect doing is you are not opening up the procedure for it to be transparent, yes. And there is no accountability.
Yeah.
And the end effect is you are saying that the end point may be for personal gains.
And in addition to the threshold, which
yes.
you indicated as 100,000, you've seen that the amount is far above the single source threshold.
Yes.
So apart from the single source, the other procedures are not also followed.
Followed, yes. Now, there is a column for management response on page 16. With all these findings with respect to the 84 transactions, management did not respond.
Yes, when we generate our reports, they are sent and a time frame will be given, about 1 week or so, which will allow the procuring organization to respond to the queries. But in this case, the responses were not given.
Very well. On the same page 16, we see that there is in fact a purported contracts committee, but then you have highlighted that they were appointed verbally?
According to the Act,
yes.
When members are to be appointed to become part of a contracts committee, it should be formalized with appointment letters. But in this case, the appointments were just verbal and not by appointment letters. It was done verbally.
Now, turn to page 20 of the report. On page 20, you have the total number and value of procurement methods. Do you see it?
Yes.
How many transactions were conducted with respect to single sourcing method?
You have 963.
And what is the value of the transactions?
4,708,593.
And how about request for quotation?
Request for quotation. 27, but there is a percentage behind which I believe is a typo. So it's 27 transactions.
The value?
$1,038.
So there was no open tender, whether national or international?
No, there was no.
There was no request for proposal?
Yes.
No restricted tendering?
Right.
Or two-stage tendering?
Right.
What was your observation with respect to the amount of single sourcing? Just below the table.
My observation is like Basse Area Council is conducting very small procurements, most of which will be within the single source threshold. And of course, yesterday I did mention about the thresholds for single source threshold. Because if you look at the total number amounting to about 96, and amounting to that value over $4 million, it means that most of their procurements are single source, but then most of them are in bits and pieces. Of course, there may be implications with that, because according to the Act, procurement should not be sort of broken down. We call it splitting.
Splitting, yes.
Procurement should not be split deliberately to avoid a monetary threshold. But sometimes we also look at the nature, the circumstances under which some of these procuring organizations operate, especially those ones in the provinces. So sometimes they deal with very small procurements that are within the threshold, and then also looking at the market over there. In most cases, the transactions are within the threshold anyway.
But you have talking about the issue of splitting procurement, which you are saying, in fact, Mr. Tambura and co at the DG, they also share the same view that sometimes it is one of the tactics or one of the avenues to kind of flout the rules for your own individual gains. Is that not the case?
Yes, sometimes it happens.
Yes,
it happens that some of the procuring organizations may deliberately break or split procurements into pieces so that each of the pieces may be within the threshold, and then they can easily conduct it. In fact, with the thinking that it is in line with what provides for by the Act.
In fact, if you look at if I give you an example of one of the suppliers, for example, Jalo Oil, you will see that they probably, for example, they probably will appear about 5, 6, 7 times in a row that there is procurement being done for fuel from the same supplier on numerous with various transactions. An example will be from, if you turn to page 64, page 15, number 64.
Yes.
Do you see that? Or even 63.
Number 60? 63.
Page 15, no, 63, yes.
Yes, 63.
You will see in the month of March in 2018,
yes,
you will see the various transactions happening, like in fact on a daily basis, sometimes. And this appears to be what the laws of procurement are prohibiting, splitting the procurement.
Yes, yes.
What do you say to that?
Yes, in addition to that example, even if you look at number 8 and 9. 8 and 9. You have a transaction amounting to 7,622 on the 18. On the 19.
Yes.
And you also have a transaction amounting to 5,015 on the 19.
Yes.
Almost a day interval.
Exactly.
So this is where we even emphasize the importance of procurement planning. In as much as provincial councils find it very difficult to plan, but we emphasize that planning is very important, because you cannot justify, for example, buying fuel today at a certain amount and then tomorrow you buy it again. So it's not justifiable anyway. So we always emphasize that institutions try as much as possible and come up with procurement plans. Now, sometimes they will argue that the nature of their operations will not allow them to plan properly, but then planning within a month, or planning for a month or 2 months is possible. It's possible. And the plans are also flexible in a way that they are, of course, regarded as living documents that can be adjusted periodically based on needs and the like. So here, our emphasis is that, yes, it's not justifiable to buy sometimes on the same day 2 times, either from the same or different sources, but it's not justifiable. And procurement planning would have been best to ensure that they get exactly what is wanted and achieve maximum value from whatever they intend to do.
Yes, in fact, you are even absolutely correct. The same even occurred on the month of in the month of July, on page number 24 to 26, with respect to Jalo oil, where you have the first instance was $7,373 worth of fuel. The second would be, which is on the 10th, $25,000, which clearly will probably be above the threshold for goods. Then you have 2,000. Then you have another 2,500.
Yes.
So again.
And sometimes, let me also make this clarification. It may not appear in our report, I'm not sure, but even during exit meetings,
Yes.
we draw their attention to things like this, because things like fuel that are consumed or that is consumed on daily basis, the advice would have been for them to enter into a framework agreement with some of these suppliers. In fact, that would be legal and will give them that easy way in ensuring that they get whatever they want to get, and it will not be splitting and so on and so forth.
Sorry. Yes, Mr. Sanyang, you have just said that sometimes during the course of your interaction with the council, they have indicated that sometimes it is difficult because of some exigent situation. And we have seen in some of the reports we have dealt with your recommendation as to particularly things like fuel and some categories of goods and services. You have recommended that they should use framework agreements because these are somewhat predictable in terms of consistency in their use by the councils. So during the course of your interactions, what do you think is the reason why they are not adhering to your advice as to some of the proper methods of procurement, particularly the framework agreement, as a procedure for things like fuel and other services that are recurrent?
Okay. Now, in most cases, what they will indicate is like the nature of their operations. For example, some of them will claim that they have field workers, for example, in other parts of the country. So
no,
that when
Mr.
you have...
Just sorry for cutting you, but we are using fuel as an example.
Yes.
I don't think that argument can stand because you know the number of staff you have, and you know particularly how much fuel you would need in some of the activities that you do daily, and you know the type of vehicles you have. So I don't think there would be that possibility of not having an appreciation of how much in a week or in a month you would need to buy fuel in order to run your activities.
Agree.
Thank you.
Now, what I just wanted to say is, now like any other auditing, when you engage, for example, an institution in discussions and the like, or when you query and the actions are taken and accepted, in most cases they will not appear in your report. But in this case, despite the discussions and the like, they still appear, meaning that we still have concerns for them. We still have concerns for what they are doing. That is why they still appear in the reports.
Council, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, you spoke about the framework agreement. Is this not something that would naturally be known to someone who understands and is trained in procurement, generally, as to the procedure to adopt in a certain situation?
Well, that is why if you look at the Act, it specifically define the required qualifications and skills of the procurement officers, especially the head of the procuring organization. The procurement officer of the procuring organization should have acquired certain qualifications. So here we expect heads of procurement units of all institutions should know these are basic things.
Exactly.
That, of course, they should be able to look at their procurements and be able to arrange them in a way that things like this should not happen. But most likely, even if you look at the assessment of the capacity of the procurement unit, most likely is going to be will be assessed very low.
Yes. So, just for the record, the procurement officer for Basse for the year under review, if you talk to page 13, would be one Mr. Mohamed Jaune. On page 13.
Yes, Mohamed Jaune.
And his professional qualification is banking and finance diploma.
Yes.
The ABE, management diploma. And trainings, 1 month internship at GPPA on procurement procedure.
Yes.
Yes. So, but then, the other thing is, it was highlighted in your report on page 20, that these procurements, in fact, were carried out outside the SPU. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Yes, and so it was approved by the accounting officer, who is the CEO.
Yes.
So, but then, from the reports and the discussions we have had, it seems as if it is the same individual who raised or prepared this procurement documents or whatsoever, and purchased goods or items and approved same, the accounting officer. Because if you see, you state an analysis of this, of the procurement under various procurement methods indicate that the council procurement of 98% is carried out through a non-competitive method of single source method, and all of which has been approved by the accounting officer.
Correct.
So here you have one individual doing the entire procurement.
Correct, yeah.
And you've already highlighted it that it was not even run through a committee, through the SPU.
Correct, yeah.
So yes.
Yeah. Mr. Sanyang, is it a requirement of the law for all the contractors that contract with public institutions and government should be registered by your authority?
Yes.
Can you refer us to the law? Do you have?
Yes, I cannot definitely point out it, but if I could, in order to be awarded a public contract.
Okay.
In order to be awarded a public contract, suppliers must register with the authority to be eligible for the award of any public contract. But
okay. Maybe we look at the. You don't have the 2014 Act with you?
Yes, I have the 2014 Act. I was looking at the regulations.
Should it be contained in the 2014 Act?
Yes, yes.
I think it should be section 24. Can you check section 24?
Eligibility. Yes, that's it, 24.
Yes, what does it provide?
Eligibility.
Yes, what does it provide?
In order to be awarded a procurement contract, suppliers should be registered with the authority in accordance with the regulations made under this act.
So it is a mandatory provision.
Yes, it is illegal to do business with a supplier who have not registered with the authority.
Yes, so now my question is, during the course of your compliance review, did you confirm that all these transactions that were done by the municipalities, they did it with suppliers that are registered with the authority?
This is what one of the things that we look at, that we verify whether the suppliers that institutions are dealing with in terms of award of contracts or public contracts are registered with the authority or not.
So
and
did
if
you
not, we indicate. It's indicated in the report.
in the report?
Yes.
But in this instant here, the last report we dealt with yesterday, we've not seen anywhere in the report that the authority said all the contractors that were dealt with by the municipality were registered by your authority. Or is it contained in the report?
I have not seen, no, it's not contained in the report.
So how would we know that the contractors that dealt with the municipalities were registered with your authority?
Now, in most cases, when we conduct our reports, we only highlight. Of course, in the reports, you have compliance and non-compliance issues, but then I think the...
No. What I am asking is that we've looked at the law. The law is saying that it is mandatory for each contractor to be registered with your authority before they do business with any municipality or government institution. And what I am asking is, how would we know as a commission that those people that transacted with these municipalities, they all registered with the authority? How would we know?
That is what I'm saying. Like the reports, you have compliance issues and non-compliance issues.
Yes.
So in the compliance issues, we may indicate that almost all the transactions conducted in terms of procurement are dealt with suppliers who have registered with GPPA. On the other hand, on the contrary, if they are not registered, we'll capture it in the non-compliance issues.
But I have just raised the issue that the report, some of the reports we've dealt with, we've not seen anywhere where you have indicated that during the course of this review, we have found out that all these people that transacted with this municipality were registered with us.
What I am saying is registration with GPPA is a given that all procuring organizations should know. So if they are doing business with suppliers who are registered with GPPA, sometimes we don't even mention it because it's mandatory that they can only do business with suppliers who registered with GPPA. But if they don't, we mention that because it's a non-compliant issue. But sometimes if they do, we feel that it's not necessary to, of course, mention it.
Well, I don't think you have answered my question, but we will make a request from your office. If we feel that in some of the reports we cannot clearly see that the institutions that transacted with the municipalities have really registered with your office, we will request for that information. Thank you.
Okay.
Council.
My question to the witness is,
This is the act.
you talked about the procurement plan.
Okay.
And in your deliberation so far, you haven't talked about whether these were part of the procurement plan. Is it that when you are reviewing, you don't review procurement based on procurement plan, or you just review procurement based on what has been submitted to you as being procured?
When we are reviewing, of course, we review transactions with reference to the procurement plans. We do our reviews in reference with the procurement plans.
In other words, whatever you have stated in your review can be linked to a procurement plan that was submitted to you.
If it is not, I think you must have seen in some of the reports that...
No, my question is, in reviewing the procurement, did you look at it based on the procurement plan? I think that's a simple yes or no.
Yes, we may do it in reference to procurement plans.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, so I think it will be probably very, very helpful if, for instance, where you have a supplier that is not registered with GPPA to actually be mentioned in the report. Don't you think so?
Yes, it will be very helpful. Yes, agreed.
Yes. Now, with respect to the CEO at the time who approved these transactions, can you turn to page 6 and advise us as to who was the CEO at the time?
Page 6.
Yes. Do you see the name?
Yes. The CEO was Usman Toure.
So it was Usman Toure who approved all these transactions from page 20.
Yes.
Without passing through the SPU or involving the procurement unit.
Right.
And again, we have the when it comes to the comments of the management, did they provide any?
No management response was given.
Now turn to page 21. On page 21, you have your recommendations. And one of which was that the PO should resort to competitive procurement through framework contract agreements, but then especially 3 areas of procurement. And what are these?
You said page 21.
21, yes. When you were advising that for all these transactions.
Yes, recommendations.
Yes. The second point.
The PO should resort to competitive procurement through framework contract agreements with the following: A, fuel, you have B, catering, and C, stationaries.
Why is it important to have these 3 fuel, catering, and stationaries to be procured through framework agreements?
Now, in procurement, a framework agreement is recommended with items or for items that are used frequently. And if you look at the recurrence of the procurement of fuel, it comes regularly, it's very frequent. So that is why we advise that fuel should be, of course, done in the way of framework agreement. And catering services is also on daily basis. catering is on daily basis. And stationery also is needed on daily basis. That is why we advise that Basse Area Council should have arranged a framework contract agreement with these suppliers.
Now, there is a table below with the heading Registered and Deserving Suppliers. And you have highlighted that as per Section 24 of the GPA Act 2014, PPA Act 2014, suppliers shall be registered with the authority as a prerequisite for eligibility of public contracts. But in this particular one, you have highlighted that there were some suppliers who did not register, even though in some of the reports you did not. But then, who are the suppliers that did not register but were still being contracted by Basse Area Council?
Yes, before I go straight to your answer, I think this can also answer that question of Honorable Chair, that you needed a clarification or the list of suppliers who are given contracts but are not registered with GPPA. So this is a table that shows those suppliers that were awarded contracts but have not registered, even though they have not registered with the authority. And this is applicable for most of our reports. But most of the reports we highlight that.
Yes, but
so
for some,
comment to your...
but for some of the reports, it stays silent as to whether the suppliers are actually registered with GPA or not. We have dealt with some of the reports where it was very silent with respect to whether the suppliers are in fact registered with GPA or not.
Okay.
So don't you think it will be very much helpful and a better procedure which will help any reader to understand better if you categorically outline whether for a particular year suppliers were in fact registered with the GPPA, or some of them did not register with GPPA, or all of them registered with GPPA? Don't you think that should be the standard?
I think it will be helpful anyway. And
so I believe, unless I get wrong,
consider.
that is what the chairperson was outlining. In fact, some of the reports that it was very silent on those situations.
Okay, point noted.
So now, how many suppliers did not register with GPPA? As per 2018. Let's start with the first one.
The first one is, again, is a table. You have the date, pay, and description and the amount.
Yes.
The first one is Satra.
Satra, and Satra is
one of those suppliers on the list of suppliers of fuel.
And then the amount for which was highlighted here is 11,000.
11,528.
The next one?
The next one is Jallo Oil. Jallo Oil.
Yes.
Oil.
The amount?
The amount is 100,000.
The description?
Fuel.
The other one?
Ibu Baji.
Yes.
Sets of office chairs.
Yes.
And the amount is $17,000.
The other one?
Blessed A.E. Gabzin.
2 vehicle tires.
2 vehicle tires.
$4,000.
Amounting to $4,000.
You have Mrs.
Lawrence
Sitia Diba. House rent.
$35,000.
Yes. You have Green Light Stationery. Maintenance for CEO quarters.
$7,000.
You have the spare parts, maintenance of council vehicles, $18,000.
Right.
You have internet cafe and printing, internet cables, is a description. The amount is $9,500.
Right.
Keba Jata. This description is
vehicle
maintenance, $25,000.
Right.
Ibrahim Masedi, staff ID card, $28,000. Abdullah Jata, 10 bags of cement, $6,000. You have on the next one is the distribution of motorbike for $36,000. But then
the name is
the
not.
name is not available. We don't know who the supplier is. We only know that there appears to be a motorbike at an amount of $36,000. We don't know who the supplier is. Why was it difficult for your office or your unit to know as to who the supplier was?
Actually, they may have, the reviewers may be given documents to show that, or in the ledger, possibly there is that indication that fuel was purchased, but the recipient.
This is not fuel, this is motorbike. Motorbike.
Yes, maybe a motorbike was purchased at that amount, and then the name is
7th August, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, 7th August 2018.
Yes.
And the name is not available.
Yes. The name of the supplier is not available. So I now ask you, why do you think that is the case?
Now, what may have happened is when the reviewers went there, they were given documents to show that a motorbike was purchased, but then the name is not given to them. And they may have even probed to find out the name, but then the name is not provided.
In fact, they would have had the opportunity to rectify that in the management response, but they never did.
Exactly, yeah.
The next one is Idrissa Jallo, cost of bags of cement for $200,000. Do you see that?
Yes.
And if you turn to page 22, you have Malik Ba, cost of bags of cement, $100,000. Repairing of tractor, Ismaila Jallo, $40,000. Vehicle tires, Ibrahima Job, $8,500. Iron sheet, Muhammad Ul, $54,000. Now, all of these suppliers did not register with GPPA.
Yes.
And the implications are, number one, non-registration with the authority is interpreted as a probable failure to pay tax. How do you explain that?
Now, before you register your business, you must have registered with AG Chambers. Your business must have registered with AG Chambers, and you must also provide a TIN certificate where you are obliged to pay taxes with GRA and the like. So without registration, we assume that your business is not registered with AG Chambers, nor is it registered with GPPA. And if you don't even have a TIN certificate, it means that you are not even paying taxes.
So therefore, it is causing, as per your report, is causing financial losses to the state.
Yes.
Now, but what I have concern with is the action thereafter. You recommended, and when I say again you, I mean your office.
The office, yes.
Do you understand?
I understand, yes.
Yes. So you recommended that public contracts are awarded to suppliers who are duly registered with GPP in order to comply with Section 24 of the Public Procurement Act. And you are also reminded to revert to the GPA website for further verification of GPA registered suppliers. Now you are encouraging them to deal with suppliers that are registered with
GPA.
Yes.
Yes.
But what do you do after that when you see these serious violations? You've already told the chairperson that it is mandatory that suppliers must be registered. Did you not say that?
Now,
with GPPA?
Now what we do is, at the end of...
No, first answer my question and then you proceed. I said you have informed the chairperson that suppliers must be registered with GPPA.
Yes,
Good.
In the report and as well as the exit meetings that we conduct with them.
Yes. So what follows after all these serious findings? In fact, when you really outline the loss of revenue, that will automatically happen when you don't register with GPPA.
Now, at the end of the exercise, we generate a report and then submit it to the relevant authorities.
That is, who are the relevant authorities?
National Assembly.
Is that just it? Now, but if I recall, you said yesterday that as per the 2014 Act, probably, is this not part of a violation that can be sanctioned?
For us, we don't see this as a serious fraud, or because it's straightforward that they are not registering with the authority. So that is straightforward. And as such, I don't think it may require, let's say, reporting the case to the Auditor General to come and conduct a thorough audit exercise on this particular procurement.
No, but then my point is, you were saying you don't see it as a serious, I didn't get that part. You don't see it as a serious violation?
Now, the nature of probably the transactions that may be forwarded to the Auditor General may be probably transactions that are a little bit complex, that you suspect something, but you cannot ascertain that it happened. So in cases like that, you forward it to the Auditor General for a thorough audit exercise. But this one is straightforward, that they are not registering with the authority, and hopefully they have not also registered with the AG chambers, because they don't have any business registration. They may not even have a company name which is registered.
So will they not fall under Section 69 of the 2014 Act? Do you have the 2014 Act with you?
2014 Act, Section...
Yes.
Section 69.
Yes. In your understanding.
Offenses resulting to procurement.
Please read, yes, louder.
A person who contravenes...
Can you use the microphone? Can you talk to the microphone?
A person who contravenes a provision of this Act commits an offense, and where no penalty has been provided for the offense, is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding $1 million or a term of imprisonment not exceeding 5 years or both.
Yes. So what would be your understanding? Would this not be a violation that will fall under Section 69?
Actually, dealing with suppliers who are not registered with the authority clearly is a violation of the Act.
Yes.
And going by Section 69, as I have just read, this action of the Council dealing with suppliers who are not registered with the authority violates Section 69 of the Act, which also violates the whole Act. You are right. The matter should have been, of course, reported to the Auditor General as indicated in the Act for a thorough investigation.
Yes. So, and seems we are on the same page. And I believe exactly that is what should be done, just exactly as you have highlighted. When we have this series of violations occurring, maybe that is the reason why there is the repeated violation year after year, because maybe there is no drastic action being taken as provided for by the Act. What do you think?
Yes, I think you are right that since there are a series of violations and appropriate actions are not taken as expected, that may be the reason why things like this is continuing.
So, yes, so now I will leave that part for the commissioners perhaps to discuss further. Now, yes.
Okay. Mr. Sanyang, I want you to clarify. You have stated in your report, specifically, you have stated that it is clearly stated in Section 24 of the GPPA Act that where a particular contractor is not registered with your institution, the person is not legible. So, in other words, we are saying all these transactions that amounted to these millions of dollars were done illegally by the council. What should have been your recommendation in making sure that these monies are reimbursed to government because these transactions were illegal?
My recommendation would be like, since the offenses are clear, we can still recommend for the Auditor General to conduct a thorough review or audit exercise to establish the facts, and then legal actions will be taken, or appropriate legal actions can be taken against them.
Thank you. Council.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Sanyang. I just have a couple of questions. You're saying that where these issues come up, you need to report the matter to the Auditor General for appropriate action or for further investigation. But have you not already established by your report that there actually are bidders who were not registered with your authority?
Yes.
So what else do you need to establish?
Well, GPPA, of course, the legal actions is clearly indicated that whoever is found wanting is liable for a fine of $1 million, for example, or imprisonment of 5 years, or both of them. That is clear. But again, to establish that something of that nature, because these are legal issues, now appropriate authorities should also establish, like if it involves something relative to criminal issues, for example, we can report to the police to take appropriate measures and the like. Or we, of course, as we used to do, we generate a report which is sent to the FPAC of the National Assembly. And of course, these issues will also be discussed in detail, and they will also write observations and make recommendations for actions. And every year they also generate reports with recommendations for some of the violations, not only for GPPA procedures, but other financial issues and the like. So definitely we work hand in glove with other appropriate institutions to take necessary actions in cases of violations.
So you agree, but you agree that your report, or in your investigations and resulting in your report, you have established that there are a list of bidders that have not registered with your authority?
Yes.
Right. So you've already established that fact?
Yes, yes.
So it is a matter of sending it or making it known to another relevant authority like the police?
Yes.
Right. So they would probably use your report and go and check and establish for themselves that what you have found is actually the case?
Yes.
Have you reported these violations to the police?
No, we have not.
Okay. Are you familiar with Regulation 8 of the 2018 regulations?
2018 regulation
8.
8. Yes.
Okay.
Regulation 8. You have reporting of violations by procuring organizations.
Yes.
1. Where there is a violation of the Act or this regulation, including the failure to provide requested information to the authority relating to the procurement operations, the authority may inform the Auditor General and submit a report to the Minister. 2. The Minister may, in accordance with the powers provided by the Public Finance and National Audit laws, supervise and reduce the amount or temporarily stop part of the payment to a procurement organization that does not conform to the procurement procedures. Where a procurement organization is guilty of misconduct or breach of any procurement law, the authority may recommend disciplinary action to the relevant statutory bodies. Number 4, where the misconduct involves a criminal act, the authorities shall notify the Attorney General or any other relevant statutory body. Number 5, the authorities shall inform procuring organizations, end users, and other public bodies on the types of statistical and reporting information related to public procurement that are required to be collected and the periodicity of the collection of such statistical data and reports. Number 6, procuring organizations shall collect the necessary information pursuant to Sub-Regulation 1 and report to the authority on implementation of procurement activity every quarterly or at such intervals required by the authority.
So just to confirm, the minister responsible for, or the minister referred to in the GPPA Act is the Minister of Finance?
Finance, yes.
Right. So you have stated that you sent a report to the Auditor General. Who are these reports copied to?
No, actually, our reporting line is the...
When you prepare these compliance review reports, who do you send them to?
We send them to the National Assembly.
Do you send them to the Auditor General?
Now, the Auditor General will be informed if we found any misconduct and the like, and we did that before.
Okay, so you found misconduct in this particular report. Did you send this report
No,
to the
this
Auditor
one
General?
is not sent. This one is not sent.
Do you know which reports were sent to the Auditor General?
Normally, what I said is, normally we don't send reports to the national. If we have, we have our annual compliance reviews, which generate these reports. Among the transactions, there could be a specific one, just like the ones that we are highlighting one now. So you may have a specific transaction that, of course, we are, as an authority, may not be comfortable with in terms of how it went and the like. And in such cases, we can singly report that single transaction for further investigation to the relevant authorities or even to the Auditor General. And we did that some time ago. We reported a case to the Auditor General for further auditing, and a report was generated and laid before the National Assembly.
Did you forward these reports to the Minister of Finance?
Not directly, because what happens, the Minister of Finance is a board member of the authority. So all reports will go through the board, and the minister is a member of the board. So, yes.
Regulation 8 says 1. Regulation 8.1 says you send a report to the Auditor General and the Minister. I'm sure the Act realizes that the minister is a member of the board, but it still requires you to send it to the ministry.
Okay, noted, and I think we'll be sending our reports on annual basis, just like we do with the National Assembly. Every report generated will also be copied to the Auditor General and the Minister.
Where a procuring organization has entered into contracts with several unregistered bidders, you have said previously that that is a violation of the Act.
Yes, it's a violation of the Act.
So my colleague has listed several. How many?
It's probably about 8.
So about 8 transactions where the bidders were not registered with your authority. That's a violation of the Act.
Yes.
You did not send a report to the Auditor General. You did not send a report to the Minister of Finance. Did you send this to the police or to the Attorney General?
14.
14 transactions.
No, we don't. We don't.
Okay. Now, you agree that these are all provisions under Regulation 8 of the regulations that your authority's regulations.
Yes.
Now, you've consistently been saying that you send a report to the National Assembly.
Yes.
But you have specific provisions telling you who to send the reports to. Specific people or specific offices that are able to do something about the reports that you generate.
Yes.
But you don't send them to those offices.
Yes.
So do you think that, or do you agree that your lack of complying with the regulations is probably why these institutions keep repeating the same offenses?
Well, it's possible, yeah.
It's possible, or it is? Do you think that if you enforce these provisions, there would be less contraventions of the Act?
No, I don't think.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Do you think that if organizations were sanctioned for non-compliance with the Act, they would still continue to carry out the same non-compliance?
I don't think so.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, so let us proceed. Yes, let's proceed. We have already dealt with the list of suppliers that are not registered with GPPA and what should have been appropriate under the circumstance. Is that correct?
Yes.
So let us proceed with the report. Now, you may turn to page 25. Are you there?
Yes.
With respect to the monthly reports or monthly returns, we were told, and you also highlighted the same thing over and over again, that it is a requirement for the procuring authority to be sending monthly returns.
Yes.
And for the case of Bassett, have they been doing that?
No, they have not been sending monthly reports.
The monthly reports, is it mandatory for the procurement authority to be sending to your office, or is it a matter of discretion?
No, it's mandatory.
So again, they violated this requirement. Is that correct?
Yes.
So if you turn to page 26, the management did not even bother to respond regarding as to why they failed to be submitting monthly reports.
Yes.
Yes, Council, before you proceed, I would want Mr. Sanyang to help explain the inconsistency in their findings in 3.39. Yes.
Page?
Page 22.
22.
Yes. In their findings, they did indicate, you did indicate that the procuring authority, that is the procuring organization, which is the Basse Area Council, has maintained a comprehensive filing system for all their procurement transactions. How do you reconcile that with, when you go to page 19, you have stated that under the findings, under page 19, you said non-compliance. You said the authority has not established the examination and receipt committee as required by the GPPR section 133, 134, 135, and 136. That is one issue. And when you go to the table that Council referred you to, which is talking about the institutions that did not register and did contract with the BCC, during your review, you could not ascertain who supplied the motorbike, which was costing 36,000. And you now are saying they have a comprehensive filing system. If they had a comprehensive filing system, would you not have had less challenge in finding all this information that you complain about in some other sections of the report?
Now, the first point is about examination and receipt committee versus the filing system. Now, I think these are two different things, because the examination and receipt committee is a committee that is established to receive goods and examine them before receiving them to ascertain that they are the right goods. And the filing system is the procurement law requires that procurement transactions be filed in according to procurement method. For example, you have all single sources filed separately, you have all RFQs, you have all open tenders filed separately, not mixed together. So the examination and receipt committee and the filing system have not that connection. And yes, you are right, the motorbike, as we said and as we discovered during our review, the team of reviewers was not able to establish the name of the guy who supplied or who was awarded the contract for that supply, for the supply of the motorbike. And again, if I am to relate that with the filing system, you can have that file in the right place if it is a single source, or you have it under RFQ if it is RFQ or request for quotation is used. So if it is found in the right, under the right filing system, like under the right procurement method, of course, out of the total, for example, if you look at the total number of transactions, you have the single sources plus the RFQ. And if we want to single out this motorbike in terms of that transaction not having the name of the supplier, I don't think we can categorize that under the under bad filing system. We agree the name should be provided, but I don't think it has much to do with the filing system.
If I may ask a further question, if you say somebody has a comprehensive filing system, it means during the course of every transaction, everything they do in particular in pursuant to the activities of that transaction, the files are correct. Am I correct to assume that?
Yes.
Now, if that is the case, then how did it escape you that these people did not register and they have forms to fill before they do these transactions?
Why is it that they did not? Can you come back again?
I'm saying, if you said they have a very comprehensive filing system,
Right.
why did they not stop these transactions? Because knowing fully well that they need all the forms and they need to follow due process. And if they have a comprehensive filing system, during the course of them engaging in any transaction or activity, it could have come to their notice that something is wrong somewhere, and they correct it before they conclude on the transactions.
Okay, that is why for us, the way we look at them, if you look at our reporting, these things are separated. One, we look at the filing, where the filing system is described by, is already defined by the procurement law, that all procurement transactions should be filed according to procurement method. Another variable that we look at is the registration. So when it comes to filing system, we feel that that particular transaction is filed under the right procurement method. But then the observations, the issues were raised somewhere else, and that comes under what? Registration. That the supplier did not register with the authority, and also the supplier didn't have the right name. The name of that supplier is not indicated. We started looking at the documentation.
Thank you. Council. Yeah.
Did your guys actually see the motorbike physically?
Well, that I cannot ascertain. I'm not sure if they have gone that extent to be shown the motorbikes. But with the filing system that we are talking about, we expect them to look at the delivery notes to verify that the items are delivered. Because where it is not, we always query that delivery notes were not presented. So here I assume that the fact that they may not have looked at or verified the motorcycles physically, but they must have looked at the documentation.
Follow-up question. Was it not possible that delivery notes were issued without the motorbikes being there? Is that not a possibility?
Come again?
Was it not possible that delivery notes were shown without the motorbicycles being supplied? Was that not a possibility?
Now, it's all a possibility, and it can happen. It's a possibility.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioners. I believe we're on page 25. We were discussing the non-adherence to the reporting mechanism. Do you follow?
Page 25.
There's a requirement that you must submit monthly reports.
Yes.
And they failed to do that.
Yes.
And of course, naturally, there are implications on that. We have already agreed that that requirement should have been, you have gone through with my lead counsel regarding the fact that there is the obligation to report these violations accordingly.
Yeah.
Good. So now, what are the implications with respect to not following this monthly reporting requirement or obligation? Can you please read out the first?
The implications are as follows. Number one, misprocurement may go undetected for months.
What is misprocurement?
Now, misprocurement is a situation where the procurement is not following due process, and at the end of the day, what is expected in terms of quality, quantity, and so on are not, of course, attained.
So whenever you have procurement being conducted without following due process, generally it's misprocurement.
It may.
Because it may.
It may.
Now, when you, in the beginning of your report, you will see that the procurement unit was under, or is under the Director of Finance. Do you see that?
Yes.
And you find that in fact is not proper.
Yes.
That will be on page 10 of the report.
Okay.
On page 10, where you stated that the team further observed that the procurement unit is under the supervision of the Director of Finance and Administration. And the implications are that SPU being under the supervision of the Director of Finance may lead to conflict of interest and interference in the procurement process.
Yes.
So this is categorically something that should not happen.
Yes.
Because you feel it is a conflict of interest.
Yes.
How do you explain the conflict of interest?
Now, as per these submissions, the SPU being under directly the supervision of the Director of Finance, meaning that when there is a transaction, of course, we know the role played by, for example, the procurement unit in procurement, raising requisitions, collecting quotations, evaluating them, and making procurement-related decisions, and so on. And then when that is done under the same unit, payment is done under the same unit. So meaning that it's the same unit that raises everything and do the procurement, and payment is done by them. So here we're saying that there is a potential conflict of interest because all the transactions is done by
the same individual.
The same unit under the supervision of the same individual. And
going by page, on page 6, the Director of Finance would be one Abubakar Kante.
Yes.
Will that be accurate?
Yes.
Yes. Now, back to, now let's move on to chapter 4, where you have the specific findings.
That would be page...
that will be page 27. Chapter 4, 4.1.
Yes.
Now, the first sampling is the procurement of furnitures for council chambers. The amount is $17,000. The contractor is one Ibu Baji. It was RFQ, which is request for quotation. Now, there were non-compliance issues. What were those?
There was no evaluation report of the contracts committee as stipulated in Regulation 28 of the GPPR, that is the Gambia Public Procurement Regulations, and Section 12.7b and 2 of the Gambia Public Procurement Act.
And number 2?
There was no delivery receipt as stipulated in Section 35.2 of the Gambia Public Procurement Act.
So you wouldn't know whether the goods said to be purchased at the amount of $17,000 were in fact being delivered?
Yes.
Please turn to the next page, page 28. The procurement of vehicle tires, $18,000 is from F. Badan Enterprise. The method is RFQ as well. What were the non-compliance issues?
Page 20?
28.
The non-compliance issues include the procured item.
Yes.
was not part of the procurement plan as stipulated in Regulation 25(1) of the Gambia Public Procurement Regulations and Section 29 of the GPPA Act.
Was there any delivery note as well with respect to this transaction?
There was no delivery. There was no delivery note. That's the last bullet point, the third one.
Yes.
There was no delivery receipt as stipulated in Section 35(2).
The subsequent one is the procurement of air conditioner. The amount is $15,000 from Sanyang Electronics. It's RFQ, request for quotation. Again, non-compliance. The procured item was not part of the procurement plan as stipulated in Regulation 25(1).
Yes.
And there was no delivery receipt as stipulated in Section 35. So again, you have series of violations. We discussed that the procurement plan is in fact mandatory for all procurement authorities to have.
Yes.
Before they embark on any procurement activity.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So that is also a violation.
Yes.
Now the next one on page 29 would be the procurement of labor cost. $45,000 from one Momodu Sow. The non-compliance, number one, no evaluation report of the contracts committee, no delivery receipt, and the supplier did not register with GPA. Is that correct?
Yes.
The subsequent one is the procurement of building materials, $100,000 from one Malik Bah. The method is RFQ, non-compliance as well, no delivery notes, which you will find consistently. Is that not correct?
Right.
And no evaluation report, again, and the supplier in this instance as well did not register with GPPA, with the public procurement organization. Is that not correct?
Right. And
the other one is the procurement of cleaning or cleansing materials, as it has been written, $200,000 from Alaji Kadir Jalo.
Right.
Request for quotation. Now the supplier did not register with the authority for the year 2018. There was no evaluation report. There was no delivery receipt. So all these money spent did not follow very key requirements of the Act or regulation.
Right.
On page 31, the procurement of a workmanship FPR cutting down of trees, $45,000. Barry and family is the contractor. Again, no delivery receipts, no evaluation report. Suppliers did not register with the authority. We have spoken at length about how this will cause financial loss to the country. Is that correct?
Yes.
And we have also spoken about the importance of the delivery receipts or notes.
Right.
So we can't authenticate or prove whether any of these transactions were being, in fact, being delivered. What we know is money is being spent.
Right.
Now, the procurement of bag of cement, $45,000. Mala Sisawo is the contractor. So all they did was, usually they would raise the purchase order, and then some instance either they split the procurement threshold, but then they wouldn't follow any other regulation.
Right.
There would not be any delivery note. No, the supplier probably would not be, in fact, be registered in this case, and the item was not part of the procurement plan.
Right.
Now, the other one is the procurement of building materials, $15,000. Yebe Jalo. Request for quotation. Non-compliance. What are the non-compliance issues?
That's page
32. It's similar. No evaluation report.
Yes, yes.
No delivery receipt.
Exactly, yes.
No registration with GPA for 2018.
Yes, right.
Page 33, procurement of fuel, $75,000 is from Tech World. All they do, like I indicated, is they will make a purchase order. They will raise a purchase order and then make sure, for the most part, it's within the threshold. And then after that, they wouldn't follow any other procedure.
Right.
Now, what is a purchase order?
A purchase order is a request after procurement transactions being conducted to a stage and a supplier is identified. Now the purchase order will be raised indicating to the supplier, one, agreeing to the terms of reference to supply, and also the time that the items are needed, and so on. Delivery terms will all be indicated on the purchase, the purchase order.
Good. So now we will come back to that because it is important for the understanding of, because once you say compliance and non-compliance, in fact, what they are compliant with, they don't have a choice, because if they don't raise a purchase order, they wouldn't be able to get the money to purchase any item or any set of goods. So this is a mandatory requirement generally. So even if you want to engage into a fraudulent activity, you will still have to raise a purchase order in any institution. But then to minimize the fraud, you will have to follow other sets of rules and guidelines. Is that not correct?
Correct.
So in effect, when we say they are in compliance with that, it's not like they are in compliance with regulations that will in fact limit fraudulent activities. So now the other one on page 33 is the procurement of fuel. $7,522 is. Again, it's a single source. Tech World is the supplier or the contractor. Same thing. They will raise a purchase order, but then there will not be no delivery note generally, and even there will not be any delivery note for this case. Do you see that on page 34?
Yes, I have seen that.
The other one is procurement of 10 bags of cement, $4,000 is. Aliu Jallo is the contractor. The non-compliant is that the procured item was not in the procurement plan. There was no minute of the contracts committee as stipulated in Regulation 28. There was no delivery receipt as stipulated in Section 35. The subsequent one is repair of cancelled vehicle, $15,000. Contractor alias garage. Similar. The supplier did not register with the authority. The procurement item was not part of the procurement plan. And again, you have the procurement of garden materials, $400,000. This was procured using a single source method. Is it within or above the threshold?
$400,000 is above the threshold.
Is it in fact significantly high?
It far exceeds.
Far exceeds
this single source threshold.
And so the contractor is one Tijan Jallo. I believe Tijan is also not registered with GPPA. You will see that the non-compliance issues, there was no delivery receipt, and the supplier did not register for the year 2018. Again, the procurement of gravel and cement. What is the amount?
$300,000 is.
The method used?
Single source.
The contractor is Malik Ba.
Malik Ba.
What were the non-compliant issues?
The procurement method is above the threshold of single source, which violates Section 38 and 45 of the Gambia Public Procurement Act, and the supplier did not register with GPPA for the year 2018, which also violates 24 section of the Public Procurement Act.
On page 37 as well, procurement of cleaning material, $200,000 is again Malik Ba, single source. Is one, it is above the threshold. 2, no evidence of delivery. 3, no registration of the supplier with the authority. You have the repair of council tractor for $40,000, single source, way above the threshold. No registration, no prior approval from GPPA. You have the procurement of market tickets, $28,000, single source, no delivery receipts, no, the method is above the threshold. That's on page 38. You have the procurement of complete engine with gearbox for BSA C4, $75,000. Single source from Mr. Fansu M.S. Bojang. You again have the non-compliance issues, which are just way similar with the rest. Do you see that?
Yes.
Now, in Basse, we have observed that there is a very serious malpractice that had occurred in 2018. In fact, I will tell you, it is in fact throughout the years 2018, 19, and 20 or so. But let's just first limit ourselves to 2018. These were extremely serious violations of the requirements of the Act. Is that correct?
Correct.
Which your office had done a very good job in outlining these serious actions.
Correct.
But then where you probably fail is not taking any further appropriate step as outlined by the regulation as you have discussed with my lead counsel.
Correct.
Again, now, you will have evidence when you go and conduct these procurement reviews, because you will highlight generally in most cases that, in fact, for Basse Area Council for the year under review 2018, most of the transactions were done outside the SPU, that is Specialized Procurement Unit.
Correct.
So which means they have been done by individuals.
Correct.
You highlighted that the Director of Finance, what is the name again? The Director of Finance, is it Abubakar Kante?
Kante, I think so, on page...
Yes, Abubakar Kante.
Yes.
Has the SPU under his unit, which is a clear conflict of interest, and you explained you raise vouchers or you raise the purchase order, you approve them, and the money is being delivered by your very approved and being withdrawn by your very self to purchase goods or items.
Correct.
How serious is that?
Well, it's a serious issue. It's a very serious issue because you have all the evidences that the actions are potential areas where fraudulent actions may have taken place, and probably the amounts will, of course, go to individual gains, as we indicated in other parts of our reports.
Now, we were discussing purchase order, because for any person or any lay person that is listening who has no knowledge of procurement, you may be convinced or you may be swayed to believe that, okay, fine, if you see a column for compliance and another column for non-compliance, you may feel, well, in fact, they even complied with some procedures. Maybe they just fall short on other procedures, but then they in fact complied with the rest. Does it make sense to just withdraw money without raising a purchase order in an institution?
To withdraw money without
raising. For the purpose of procurement.
Yes, okay.
If you want to withdraw or approve money, let's say the Director of Finance has to approve any financial transaction. It's very much basic that there must be a purchase order being raised.
Yes.
And you were trying to explain what a purchase order is.
Yes.
Can you please come back again as to what a purchase order is?
Now, a purchase order is a request for the delivery of goods or services after following due process and recommendations are made and agreement is reached.
Yes.
So the purchase order will clearly indicate some of the contractual terms, the goods or services that are expected to be delivered in terms of quantity and quality and so on, so that you are now showing a sort of agreement.
Yes.
For those goods to be delivered.
In fact, you have rightly outlined what it is, because it should follow, or it should only come up when you follow due process. If you want to adopt a certain procurement method, let's say RFQ, single source, you follow the required procedure, and then once you've met all the requirements, you now raise a purchase order. So it is a form of an agreement or contract between you and the supplier.
Exactly.
It has the specifications, it has the item to be procured, the value, and so on and so forth.
In fact, if I can make these clarifications.
Yes.
Now, for example, for any procurement method, like I said, I mentioned due process.
Yes.
Now, the first thing that should be done is to request. A requisition must be raised.
Yes.
And the requisition, like I said yesterday, must be signed by 3 different individuals.
Yes.
That is to show that the transaction is somehow transparent and have involved different people to avoid individualizing procurement.
Exactly.
So the requisition will be raised, and depending on the procurement method, different forms will be completed.
Yes.
Like in the case of single source, you have the forms.
Yes.
Apart from the requisition, the forms will be completed and all signed. And then in the case of, for example, RFQ, you will have the Form 101, which will prescribe the sort of prescription of the item which is needed to, of course, subject it to competition and fair competition for that matter, to avoid, of course, people dealing directly with suppliers. We always recommend that this is done on a Form 101 to accord all suppliers equal opportunities to contest. Yes. So when all those forms are given, you forward it to the suppliers, they will respond. You evaluate. It's another document. It's another important thing. The evaluation will be done by a committee, and recommendations will be made.
Yes.
And an evaluation report will be generated, signed by all members who are involved in the evaluation to attest that, yes, this is true. Once that is done, then a supplier will be identified. Then a purchase order will be raised to indicate that
exactly
you are the responsive bidder and we want you to supply X, Y, and Z in this quantity, the quality, and so on, which would have even been captured in the report that was generated.
After which, if it has been supplied, then you will now have an inspection team to inspect
exactly,
whether
yes,
the goods supplied are in fact, they meet the description and the quality.
Yes.
Is that not correct? So
yes,
this is
correct.
a whole procedure which will make sure, number one, we have been discussing this over and over and over again. You will have value for money.
Right.
Is that not correct?
Right.
You will not be we will not be using public funds to purchase a certain item at a very exorbitant price. Let's say this laptop is cost, the market value is, let's say, $50,000, and you're buying it at $100,000. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
You're causing financial loss to the public.
Right.
Is that not correct? Or maybe what is being delivered is not even fit for the purpose.
Correct.
So we don't have these rules or these regulations just to just to be there for nice dressing purposes, but they are there to make sure public offices operate in accordance with rules and regulations for the benefit and the interest of the Gambian people.
Right.
So all these procedures you have outlined, they don't exist, I can tell you, in most of the, in fact, in all of the area councils, in numerous instances, all of the area councils, they don't follow these regulations. They don't. Right. They don't care about how the rules regarding procurement. All of these reports, they don't. We see public funds being wasted, possibly going to individual pockets on numerous instances. But for Basse, again, for the report for today, that's why I am insisting for the explanation, because when you see compliance, it appears as if, oh, they have complied with some procedure. Maybe they didn't comply with others. Maybe it can be an honest mistake here and there. It's intentional. Because if you raise a purchase order and you send it to a supplier without following any of these processes, then in effect you are even aiding yourself for any possible financial gains.
Right.
Right? Yes. So now so in Basse you don't have a functional contracts committee. You don't have an effective SPU, the Special Procurement Unit. You don't have it in Basse because it is under the Director of Finance.
Yes, the structure is wrong. The SPU is wrongly placed under a wrong department.
Yes, and so you have an individual that is a Director of Finance who I will not be tired to call his name, for the year 2018, Abubakar Kante, who will conduct raise the purchase and then get the money and then make whatever whatever transaction he wants to make with the money. You understand that?
Right.
But sometimes as well, it appears as if he does this in collusion with the CEO, because the CEO is also the approving authority. Is that not correct?
Correct.
So,
if I can
please proceed,
come
yes.
in again, we conduct trainings, and like I said, we do exit meetings and the like.
Yes.
And when things like this are observed, we always recommend, especially to the CEOs,
yes,
that before you approve any payment, you have to have a checklist. And the checklist will include what? This is a transaction. Where is the requisition? Where is the evaluation report? Where is document X and Y? And finally, if all documentation is correct, then you approve. That is what we always advise at our trainings and during our especially exit meetings like this. I was not there, but I'm sure all these things were highlighted for several times. And
I will say, in fact, there may not be, in fact, the need to highlight all of these things time and again. People appointed in this public office, they should know their job. If someone is appointed as a CEO, you must be qualified for that position, is it not? As the finance director.
Right.
So, for me, individually, I wouldn't make an excuse for any person who is deemed to be qualified to do a job and you consistently flout the rules, intentionally flout the rules. I don't understand how you can be given a pass for that. Because on page 20, why I said there is in fact a high possible collusion is that on page 20, you highlighted just below the table that when you said an analysis of the procurement under various procurement methods indicate that the council procurement of 98%, that's almost 100%, carried out through a non-competitive method of single source method. In fact, you can say all of their transactions, 98% is almost 100% of their transactions is being done through single sourcing method, knowing fully well it has a high risk of fraud or misappropriation of public funds. But then you went further to say that and they were all approved by the accounting officer, in bracket, the CEO. So the finance director will not follow any of the rules.
Exactly.
Any of the rules. Will just make decisions unilaterally and individually.
And sorry, if I can come in again.
Please proceed.
Now, just to make clarifications, the 98 transactions could have been bundled. For example, you look at it carefully.
Yes.
Procurements that are similar, for example, all fuel transactions could have been under the same transaction,
Exactly.
one transaction. And based on the total amount of money involved, if it is, for example, in millions, you float a tender, for
Yes.
example. And the requirements or the agreement would be whoever becomes the winner, then you enter into a framework agreement, then fuel will be supplied periodically or as the need arises. So all fuel could have been under one transaction.
Yes.
Sometimes they may look at the proximity and the like where their stations and other things are. But the law doesn't stop anybody from entering into an agreement with 2, 3, or even 4 suppliers. So 4 suppliers could have been identified, and then you enter into arrangements where all fuel supplies will be done by one individual. Then you have other things, like the supply of gravel and so on and so forth.
All right.
Could have been put together.
Yes. So that's it. Thank you for your.
Counsel, can I clarify? Because I believe that what Mr. Sanyang is saying is out of place with all due respect, with respect to what the findings of the audit report is saying. Because what you read, to our understanding, is that an analysis of the procurement under various procurement methods. He is saying global. He is saying globally, under all the procurement methods, various procurement methods indicate that the council procurement of 98% is carried out through a non-competitive method of single source method, and all of which has been approved by an accounting officer. In essence, what we could understand from this summation is that the transactions they have done under the period under review, you understand, 98% of all the transactions is basically through single source, and basically they did not follow due process. So we are not talking about what he is explaining now. They made a summation. They said this is what they saw in all the transactions that they have done. So that is the clarification I wanted to give. And the next question I want to ask is, during the course of your review, how do you find out the tax obligation of whether the contractors, the suppliers, you understand, and the POs has complied with the issues of tax?
Now, what we normally do is, before a supplier is registered with GPPA, we ensure that you provide certain documentation. This will include what your tax clearance from, if you are a new entrant, we require that you provide your business registration certificate with a TIN certificate and any other documentation. Now, if you are a continuing supplier, to renew your registration, you must provide a tax clearance from NRA, from GRA, before you are registered. And just recently, we are working with GRA to enter into an MOU so that things like this will be strengthened, so that whoever want to register with the authority must have. Of course, it's been done, but we want it more organized, and we are very far in the MOU. But to come back to your question, now we ensure that before you register with the authority, you must provide certain documentation, including, for example, tax clearance, that you have fulfilled all your tax obligations with the GRA.
Yes, that is in respect to your activities as a business. If you register a business, at the end of the year, you must clear with the tax office. And for the purposes of your renewal of your business certificate, you must present a tax clearance. Now, my question is, in the course of the review of these transactions, these are different transactions, how do you find out whether the contractor or the supplier has met the obligation of tax payment?
Actually, during our reviews, all what we look at is whether the supplier is registered with the authority or not. And if not, some of the implications would be not paying taxes. And we believe that when it comes to tax issues, there is an authority or another unit or another sort of institution which is responsible for taxes, which is the GRA. But if you don't register with the authority, we assume that you are not also paying your taxes. So when it comes to the follow-ups, we just feel that the GRA is in a better position to make those follow-ups.
Thank you. Thank you. Madam Sukai?
Yes.
Does it mean that the market woman who is selling vegetable at the market should not be given a contract simply because she's not registered with GPPA?
As per the provisions of the 2018 Act and regulations, yes. Because according to the Act, it says that it is illegal to do business with government if you don't register with the authority.
What about in a situation that you have to buy, like, for example, vegetable? What will happen?
If you do that, you are still violating the Act, because that is the position of the Act, that no money, under no circumstances, should be given to anybody or any supplier who have not registered with the authority.
Even with $100?
That is the position of the laws, that under no circumstances shall anybody be given money to a supplier that have not registered with the authority.
May I comment on that before the commissioners proceed? I think that there's a law regulating the SMEs, the small market enterprises, and also the exception regarding that. So I think that there will probably, if you check, be guidelines in relation to people who have small businesses and which you may need on a daily basis, or which may be of emergency, and so on and so forth.
And Council, if I can also make these provisions, these clarifications. That is why I kept on emphasizing the 2019 regulations and the 2018 Act. Now, these are some of the, of course, the setbacks or the small weaknesses that are found within this other Act, and some of the things that you are talking about are taken care of in our 2022 Act and the regulation that is about to be finalized.
Thank you. Mr. Jahina?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I think the Honorable Commissioner's questions on who to do business with is very pertinent, because the Council had asked you on several occasions, and you have highlighted it in your report, that these people have been doing business with the authority, not with the authority, with the procurement organizations without being registered with the GPPA. Is that true?
Yes.
Now, so to eliminate the smaller fish, because they don't register, but the bigger fish you would accommodate. because some of them are in hundreds of thousands of dollars and they've not been registered with the GPPA, and yet still they've been paid.
Correct.
Okay. My other question is, how much does it cost for somebody to get registered with the GPPA, and how long does it take for your registration to be complete?
Registration with the authority is for 1 year, renewable at the beginning of every year. And registration is done in categories. Now, contractors, suppliers of goods and services are being categorized, and payment is based on the category that you fall within. And it ranges from $5,000, and I think for the year under review, I am not very sure because I am not under registration, but for the year under review, I think it ranges from $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, up to $50,000 for bigger suppliers, like big suppliers of these big suppliers of fuel, like Jar Oil and the like. But like I said, I am not under registration, and of course it's the authority, but I cannot fully remember the categories and the amounts for each of the categories.
And how long does it take for one to get registered?
For our end, it may be difficult for some, but I regard it as very simple. Why? Because we have requirements or documents that you should present. And once those documents are presented, from my experience, it will not take more than even 30 minutes for somebody to get registered. You just go there, present your documents, you are awarded, it is printed within, and then will be signed and then given to you. If all your documents are correct, it will not take more than 30 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor? Yes.
I just have a question for Mr. Sanyang. Under the 2014 Act and the 2022 Act, there are provisions for small and medium local businesses to participate in public procurement. Now, both of the provisions are similar, if not identical. Subsection 1, I'll stick to the old Act. Subsection 1 of Section 36 reads that the authority shall, in collaboration with the heads of procuring organizations, establish a program to facilitate participation by small and medium local enterprises and individuals in public procurement. That's the same provision in Section 96 of the 2022 Act. So I just wanted to know, did the authority establish this program? Or were any steps taken to establish such a program with?
Now, if you look at of course, we'll be very brief in the Act, but then in the regulations, we have a lot of provisions for small enterprises. For example, this issue of bid security, because we know that for some suppliers, like example given by the Honorable Commissioner, vegetables up to $100 and the like. So instead of providing, for example, a bid security, you have other things. You can commit. You can have other documentation. All this is meant to help small businesses that are not very strong in terms of coming with or going to the bank to secure a bid security and so on. Now, in addition to that, you have other things like 7% in the evaluation criteria for example, locally made businesses, in terms of trying to, when you are evaluating, you can give plus 7.5% to local or small businesses, so that will be, of course, an advantage for them over the others. Now, we also have provisions for groups like women, disadvantaged groups, including women. You have the disabled, you have the youth and children and the like. All these things are catered for in the current dispensation, and that is the 2022 Act. But like I said, we are still working on the regulations, and very soon it will come out. So, Honorable, yes, we have considered that, and a lot of actions are taken in that direction.
So, whatever considerations you have are in the regulations that are not yet promulgated. They're not specifically in the Act.
Now, the Act will briefly mention it.
Yeah, because the Act makes reference to a program that the authorities should establish in consultation with the heads of procuring organizations. From a reading of the Act, it seems like there needs to be a dedicated program to small and medium local businesses.
Yes.
So there's no dedicated program specifically for them, but you're saying that there are incentives or there are preferences given to small and medium local businesses in the regulations.
Now, maybe you call it incentives, but then for us, like 30% of procurement for all procuring organizations being set aside for a particular group, disadvantaged group for that matter, like women and so on, is a program for us.
So where is that contained? That 30% should be set aside for...
In the Act, it will be mentioned.
No, the Act doesn't say anything about 30%. So that's why I'm asking, where that specific number, where is it contained?
Actually, if I may come back again, the Act, to be honest, did not mention a percentage.
Okay.
And I think the regulation also didn't mention a percentage. But like I said earlier, we have this women group, for example, the C-Trade, which we are working very closely, and for them, they are advocating for 30%. But then it's been mentioned at our pre-validation of our regulation, and also being taken note of for the proper validation, which is coming very soon, but it's not yet finalized. But we feel that it is a program which is very important and should also be considerable for some of the disadvantaged groups like women, youth, and children, and disabled, and so on and so forth. And the SME, small, medium enterprises, we have, because it's very difficult for them to compete, for example, with big institutions, or especially the international institutions. So when there is a competition, you have 7.5% set aside for them, so that whatever mark you have, then together with this issue of bid security, which has been now very loose or very done in a way that those who were finding it very difficult to secure such legal documents to compete can easily secure documents like this. So, like you said, it could be incentives, but we are looking at it as a program. Anyway, because at the end of the day, when the Act is, the regulations is fully implemented, we will also, our reviews, compliance reviews, will also look at issues like that, whether as provided for by the regulation, these things are being implemented by procuring organizations or not.
So you're saying that these provisions are going to be in the regulations?
Yes, the way they will be done will be clearly defined in the regulations.
I'm sorry, please repeat that.
What I said is the way they will be implemented will be clearly defined in the regulations.
In the regulations. Thank you.
I believe we have 8 minutes. Are we proceeding or do we take a break?
We will break at 1:30.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We just concluded the final report for December 2018 procurement review for Basse Area Council. Do the commissioners exhaust their questions for 2018 before you proceed?
Do you have any questions? Commissioners don't have any questions.
Thank you. We will now proceed with the 2019 year ended 31st December 2019 compliance review for Basse Area Council. Please, can you guide yourself through the report for 2019 for Basse Area Council?
Yes, I'm there.
Are you there already? Correct. Now, for Basse Area Council, at the entry meeting, who were present at the level of the area council?
Now, if you turn to page 4, there is a table called names of those in attendance in the entry meeting. And this include Usman Toure, Chief Executive Officer, Basse Area Council, Abubakar Kante, Director of Finance, Basse Area Council, Mohamed Kijara, Procurement Officer, Basse Area Council, and members of the, other members of the GPPA compliance team, including Buba Jata and Pamodu An from the authority, GPPA.
Yes. Now, how about the staff directly involved in the review process for Basse Area Council on page 5?
The staff that are directly involved include Abubakar Kante, Finance Director, Finance, Mohamed Kijara, Procurement Officer, SPU, that's the Specialized Procurement Unit, and Usman Toure, who is the Chief Executive Officer, and also the Chairman of the Contrast Committee.
On page 7.
Sorry, Council, before you proceed on page 7. Mr. Sanyang, you've listed some of the documents that they reviewed in the report. It is listed, I think there are 7. Part of this is the mandatory reports to the authority. Do you have any reports to that effect?
Mandatory reports to the authority. These are the monthly reports that are expected to be sent to the authority on monthly basis.
Yes.
Whether we have them, yes. We suppose if they are not captured as non-compliance, meaning that they have been sent and they must be with the authority.
No. What the report is saying at 1.7, that is key documents reviewed, which means the authority reviewed these particular documents.
Yes, these are the documents that were reviewed.
Yes. So can you make available to the Commission these reports?
Okay, and again, as I said yesterday, these are reports that were reviewed at Basse Area Councils. We took our observations and so on, and they were left there. Yes, if time is given, we can, but they are all the way because we have not come with the reports.
Yes.
They are there at the council's level, so we can request for them to be provided.
So kindly avail us the reports.
And timeline for that, how soon?
Before the end of the week.
Before the end of
this week. That is by Friday.
By Friday. Okay.
Thank you, and I believe this is a convenient point to stop. We may rise for break, and we will reconvene at 2:30. Thank you.